there is a tornado possibly there. And with it getting bigger in the picture, then that's when it's starting to look weaker within it.
And those brighter colors are always an indicator of more intense wind. So when the colors start getting dull like that, that doesn't mean you can't still have a tornado. It's just likely the probability of it decreases. But we're going to stay with this as this tornado warning continues.
It has now been a confirmed tornado on the ground from the NWS chat. Yes.
It is. Okay, so it is a tornado on the ground that likely did pass through Bendale. When we saw those colors very bright earlier in the loop, chances are that was for sure when we had that, but it is still lifting to the north and east. Jennifer just mentioned that the Weather Service chat did confirm to us that a tornado is on the ground, and it is in George County, Mississippi, possibly tracking into Greene County. So there's the tornado. We've had confirmation it's on the ground. It's along Mississippi Highway 57. Crossing into Merrill and about to pass US 98 and cross over into Greene County, Mississippi. So we have gotten confirmation that a tornado is on the ground. We'll find out the damage assessment later, but everyone still needs to be in their safe place that is in the path of this potential storm. And Leakesville, remember, that does include you. Leakesville is the highest populated spot in Greene County. You need to make sure you are away from doors and windows in your safe place. If you know anyone that lives there, now's the time to call them, text them, let them know something dangerous is heading their way.
All right, so the most recent update is saying that they did not have ground truth with this. We always say the best eyes are the eyes on the ground. However, they did have a decent correlation coefficient drop, so they did go with a radar confirmed tornado.
So what that means is, what Jennifer was saying is there was no spotter that saw it, but what we had was enough of an intense velocity display on radar combined with what she's showing you, the correlation coefficient, where there could be debris lofted by the radar, and that allowed the Weather Service to make the call that it is a radar confirmed tornado. So it's a situation where there was no spotter, but the indication on radar was solid enough that there is a confirmed tornado on the ground. So we're going to stay with this and continue to watch this as we maneuver in over the next several minutes. Now, as far as the situation regarding the correlation coefficient, I just want to check and see. Let me back this up and see if I can. There you go. Right, I think we had the wrong thing on it, but I'm trying to. Right around there.
Right as soon as it passes over 57.
Let's see. Let me see if there's 57. Maybe right there. That. Let me see if I can highlight this right here. That might be the debris being lofted by the radar. And so yeah, Jennifer, I think the Weather Service is spot on with that. I think that's definitely a confirmed tornado on the ground. We were looking at the correlation coefficient. I think we had the wrong color table loaded on that. That's why it was showing up in that gray and blue color. But after rescanning it, yes, there definitely looks like there was something lofting, some sort of damage possibly being lofted from the radar. Now, here's the good news. As we look at this image on the radar, look at all of this rain. Notice west of where that tornado possibly is, there's no lightning. This would be just a straight rain-soaking event right here. That's an indicator that possibly when this storm weakens enough or moves out, maybe, just maybe, we'll have at least some time before another warning would be issued and we'll just get a good downpour of rain, which is what we want to see happen. Because I do think the storm is losing structure on the radar, meaning that although it's still got a velocity display that's tight, the colors are getting darker. We're not seeing the same kind of hook that we were seeing on reflectivity earlier, but the lightning with it, though, is still popping and is still very intense. And what's the new velocity scan look like on this, Jen? And there it is. So it's still there, but it's still not anywhere close to what it looked like in Bendale earlier. Yeah, as it gets ready to cross Merrill and get ready to cross US 98. So it hasn't officially moved into Greene County yet. It will, and when it does, likely we'll see George County get dropped from the tornado warning. But that is the tornado right there. And we have had confirmation that one is on the ground. It's lifting to the north and east at 25 miles an hour. So it's moving at a good speed, moving at a good pace. There's been confirmation that this is on the ground. Remember, this whole storm is just a complete mess. You got heavy rain and lightning. You don't need to be driving through that anyway, even if there isn't a tornado with those storms. Jennifer's about to relay the latest track And based on a 25-mile-an-hour speed, Leakesville, it would be to you in about a little less than 40 minutes based on its current rate of speed. Merrill, it's right over you right now, so you already need to be in your safe place. But parts of Greene County are already starting to get the heavy rain bands moving in. The core of the storm, though, is just behind it, and we'll be lifting northeast very soon into Greene County. And when that happens, likely George County, you will get dropped out. So we've got something that we don't get often in late June, a tornado threat from storms. Usually in the summer, you've always got the lightning threat. You've always got the heavy rain threat, but a tornado threat usually doesn't happen unless there's a tropical storm or hurricane nearby. But we've got all the ingredients in play: muggy, humid air, the daytime heating process, and a surface low that's just west of our area that's creating enough rotating of the wind with height that is allowing these sustainable updrafts to hold and producing the risk of tornadoes. So we have got the Weather Service chat up. We're watching social media. And as of now, Jennifer, all we can do is just keep watching these new scans and watch as they begin to come through. But I know if you're watching us in Mobile or Baldwin County, it's dry, it's humid. Look at the rest of the area. I mean, the rest of the area is almost completely dry. But based on what we've seen with our Fox 10 Futurecast, by about 1 this afternoon, most of the storms will be lining up along parts of Interstate 65 and then gradually shifting their way eastward. So a big cluster of storms is still on the way. So if you're in Mobile or Baldwin counties, you're running errands, hope you got a good radar app on your phone, because you need to keep up with where these storms are in relation to you, because they are on their way. And Jennifer, can we pull up the Futurecast again, just so we can kind of scan that through hour by hour? And if you missed it, because I know when it comes to severe weather coverage, a lot of you come and go. Here's the Futurecast. As we get to about 1 in the afternoon, that's when most of the storms are going to be lined up along and west of Interstate 65. Now by 3 in the afternoon, we'll start to see the storm coverage beginning to diminish. And that's when we'll end up in a bit of a break. So we'll have a little bit of a lull late in the afternoon. But then round 2 starts to show up, and that will occur after 7 o'clock. So after 7, here comes the next round of storms. It'll trek their way to the east, and then once we get past 9 o'clock, that's when we start to see the storm threat diminishing, and around midnight, most spots will end up going rain-free, and the rest of your Wednesday night and Thursday morning should be relatively quiet. So I don't think we're going to have a big severe threat the rest of the week compared to what we've got today. Today we just kind of have all the ingredients together to produce this risk. So as we go back to the radar or the watch warning map, notice the only warning that's still active is this one till 11:30. The tornado warning that includes George and Greene counties. Loosedale, remember, you're not included in this. The projected tornado is going to bypass your area, but Leakesville, you are underneath the possible tornado, and within 20 minutes, it'll be to you. So 11:30 is when this warning expires. It includes parts of George, Greene, and Perry counties, although I wouldn't be surprised if George eventually got dropped from this. Here's the reflectivity scan. Here's the nastiest part of the storm. Red obviously means heavy rain. The lightning is very frequent with this storm. The possible tornado is now on the George and Greene County line, right there where you got the most intense lightning. That's where the possible tornado is, just south and west of US 98, and it's lifting its way northeast. And that's it. Now, that is not as intense a signature as it was when it was near Bendale. That was where I think by far the storm was the most dangerous. This looks a lot weaker. But this is still giving you plenty of time, if you're in Leakesville, to get to your safe place, to get to the lowest level of your home, away from doors and away from windows. So if you're watching us in that area, make sure you're taking this threat seriously, because we're going to stay with this until this warning is either canceled or expired. The Weather Service said that there was no what they called ground truth, which means we didn't have a spotter confirm that there was a tornado, but they did have a decent correlation coefficient drop on the radar, which allowed them to confirm the possible tornadoes. So that is why we are on the air, and we're going to stay with this and continue to watch this as the storm remains pretty intense. Now, Ryan, in the control room, if you can we switch to the Apple TV? That should be active and ready. If it's not, that's fine, but it should be good to go. I think it's on one of the ZKs. So if it is, just go to that, and I'll just watch for it in the monitor if it changes. But if it doesn't, that's okay. So I have on my iPad, I pulled up a secondary radar system. We have our main storm tracker, and then the second one that I have on the iPad, and you can see where we've still got a decent signature that's crossing parts of US 98. So we're just going to keep an eye on this and stick with it. And I guess they're having some trouble getting that pulled up in the control room, and that's fine. That does happen sometimes. So we'll just stay with the main storm tracker, and you can see that the display right here is where you got the green and the red connected, located just to the west of Bexley, and that's about to cross parts of US 98 and maneuver its way towards parts of Leakesville. It's moving to the north and east at 25 miles an hour, so it's moving very quickly. I will highlight this and let you see the latest track and projection. And Leakesville, it would be to you I think it'll be there sooner than 11:50. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Here's a look at the bigger picture on the radar. Most spots are dry and rain-free, but you've still got this big line of rain and storms west of Thomasville and pushing off into parts of Greene and George counties. Mobile and Baldwin, I know you're mostly dry right now. You haven't really seen much of anything. As far as when the warning expires, we've got about another 15 minutes to go, and it will depend on what the Weather Service wants to do regarding the intensity of the couplet, whether or not they want to stay with it. Because as of now, the couplet is strong enough that they're probably going to continue the warning past 11:30. That's what I'm seeing just based on the multiple radar displays that we have got. It's getting ready to cross US 98. The storm is not as intense as it was over Bendale, but it's enough that it's allowing the Weather Service to keep this thing going. And let's see. I was just wanting to adjust something on the radar display, but I'm going to keep it as is. Right there around Vernal River Road is where the tornado is located, or where the possible tornado is. And as we pull up the Futurecast, you can see that as we get closer toward 2 in the afternoon, that is when you're going to have storms all over the place, mostly along and to the west of Interstate 65. So if you're on the Florida Panhandle, it may be a while before a storm rolls in to your area. But along and west of I-65, that is where the core of the storms are. And then we'll see those storms begin to weaken and diminish later today. And then once that happens, that's when we'll wait for round number 2. Round number 2 will start to push in right around 8 o'clock, and then we go into the late night hours, and then we'll see that second round begin to diminish. And on the 7-day, if you missed the morning news, you can see that rain and storm coverage kind of goes back to more normal levels for Friday through the weekend, with projected highs in the low 90s and morning temperatures in the mid 70s. So here's the watch warning map. And you can see that we've still got that active tornado warning until 11:30. That does include parts of George and Greene counties. As far as the bigger picture on that, it's just going to be a matter of whether the secondary storms produce that risk of tornadoes. The signatures on radar are weakening, which we like to see. Let me stop this image, and you can see you've got a band of heavy rain and lightning stretching from Bendale all the way up to Merrill and all the way up to near Leakesville. Now, I'm going to turn the lightning data off, and you can see right here. Let me back up this loop for the last 30 minutes. Let me back this up. And you can see how things changed. Right here, see how the radar had a curvature shape, or at least the projected rain did right there? That is where the tornado was strongest, just before 11 a.m. Because when it takes on this kidney bean looking shape, that's when you have an inflow and then a possible tornado on the south and west side of that inflow. And then once we moved forward in time, you started seeing that signature get weaker and weaker. And that's why I think there's possibly a good chance that we'll see things change. So as of now, we have not confirmed, but 1 mile northwest of Loosedale, there was a rotating wall cloud with a storm moving northeast at 15. So for sure, we know we had a wall cloud rolling through. That would be 1 mile northwest of Loosedale. and that was at that was 3 minutes ago. That would have been at 10:14. So that was about 3 minutes ago. So 11:14. Excuse me, 11:14. So as I pull this back on the radar, I'm trying to reread this this spot. It does not have the official timestamp. It says it's 16:14, which would be 11:14. So at 11:14, that's right here. Here's Loosedale. So it would be, I guess, in this general vicinity right here is where the possible wall cloud was located. But the tornado is still way to the north and west of that. And you can see the signature has really petered out as we back this image up.
And we just got a brand new tornado warning.
A new tornado warning till 12:15. Okay, so they've extended it. They've extended it by 45 minutes. Okay. So let's go to the watch warning map and take another look at that, Jennifer, and see where the new box is.
And then also our Steve Alexander, he called the George County EMA, and also we just want to report that they said that there are no reports of any damage currently there.
Good. That's wonderful. So we got a new tornado warning. See where it's flashing? That's the new warning. Basically, it is an extension of what currently exists. It was supposed to expire in 10 minutes. Weather Service is letting it go longer. This time it's going to go all the way till 12:15, right?
Yes.
So a little less than an hour, and it now includes this little sliver of Greene County. So the warning has been extended. The box is drawn out a little farther as we continue to watch this storm. Now, I still think the storm has weakened drastically, just based on what we've seen on radar imagery, but as far as the bigger picture, it still looks like it's going to be a big mass of rain and storms with just a small chance of an isolated tornado inside that, Jennifer.
Yes, I'm agreeing. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out again just to get a track on this using our storm tracker. Just seeing.
So it's right here where my finger's at, right there on the George Greene County line. But it's just so much weaker than it was earlier. But that would be the possible tornado right there, this general region.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get a storm track on that too.
And it's still moving at 25, right?
15 now.
So it's dropped, which is probably the reason why the warning is so lengthy. So it goes to 15. There we go, moving northeast at 15.
Northeast.
And you can see some of the paths that are, Leakesville would be to you at 12:03. So that has now delayed the arrival in Leakesville, which is the reason why I'm sure that warning got extended as long as it did up to 12:15. So 12:03 is now the projected arrival time for that storm in Leakesville. That still gives those of you that live there plenty of time to get to your safe place, get away from doors and windows, get to the lowest level of your home. That is what you need to make sure you're doing. And if you're watching us again in the rest of the area, Mobile, Baldwin, and you haven't seen a drop of rain and you're wondering why we stay on like this, remember these storms are tracking east. They are eventually maneuvering into parts of Alabama, and we have seen confirmed tornadoes on radar earlier this morning that have produced damage. So it's a serious situation, and it's a situation that is moving toward more and more spots as the day progresses, and it's still early yet. I mean, we haven't even gotten to lunchtime on the Futurecast. It had all the storms all over Mobile and Baldwin by 1 in the afternoon. So in less than 2 hours, we may start to see that happen. But here's the big line of storms, all moving southwest to northeast, producing a lot of lightning, producing very heavy rain, and unfortunately producing the risk of isolated tornadoes as they lift their way to the north and to the east. And they're doing so slower. They were at 25 miles an hour. Now they're only doing so at about 15 miles per hour. So, Jennifer, based on what you have read from the Weather Service chat, there was a confirmed tornado on radar. People have seen a wall cloud, but we have not, and based on what Steve told you, there has not been any confirmed reports of damage yet.
Correct, yes. And they also, the National Weather Service, they wanted to say with that confirmed tornado on radar is that it was a very forested area, so that would help contribute to some of the lofted debris possibly there too.
And that's wonderful. So because it is a forested area, and there are a lot of trees there, a lot of the debris lofted from the radar may have just been trees and not actual buildings, because that is a very rural part of George and Greene counties. But these storms are continuing to trek their way to the east. They're not moving fast, unfortunately. Usually when they move fast, we can get in and out with the severe weather coverage and today is not going to be that day. So this is going to be the kind of day where we just have to sit and wait and watch. And the tornado warning, the possible tornado is right here, where you got the green and red together. Let's zoom in toward that a little bit, Jennifer. Right there to the east of US 98. That's right near Vernal in parts of Greene County. Right there is where you got your inbound and outbound wind, and it's lifting its way to the northeast at 15 miles per hour. So here's Vernal River Road. If you know anyone that lives in this area, make sure they're in their safe place. Leakesville, you got about 30 minutes to get ready for this thing as it works its way toward you. What we're hoping for, what our fingers are crossed on, is that it will continue to weaken and that the warning gets canceled. But so far, it's still been a close enough call to keep this thing going, and that's why we're on the air, and that's why we're continuing to stick with this and watch this as it works its way northeast. Now, the signature is not as strong as it was when it was over Bendale. It looked much more fierce when it was there. Both the reflectivity, the velocity, and the debris signatures all looked stronger. And as Jennifer's backing this up through time, you can see as it maneuvers forward how much darker the colors have gotten and how much brighter they were earlier, and then how much darker they get as it works its way to the north and east. So there are rotating signatures out there, but nothing that's really standing out other than this. So this is the possible tornado. This is why the warning is active. It's in play until 12:15, and it is located between Mississippi Highway 57, Mississippi Highway 63, and US 98. So it has now crossed US 98 in Greene County. So now the storm that's producing the tornado is now out of George County and now moving into parts of Greene County, at least the southern end of it. And the red box, of course, represents the polygon. Those are the tornado warnings. Anyone inside that box is in danger. Anyone outside the box is technically not in danger. So we're coming up on 11:30. We're getting close to that, and we're still going to have 45 minutes of this tornado warning expecting to remain active with, as of now, no signs that we're going to see that thing getting canceled. We just got a new sweep, and this is still it. This is the possible tornado right there where you got the green and the red. It's dark, and it's not overly impressive, Jennifer. To me, it's not really standing out very much like it was earlier.
I think you're right. Yeah, you can really see the change in it as we back it up towards Bendale, is where Michael and I agreed is where it probably reached its peak intensity, and that's also where it got to that confirmation of being a confirmed tornado on radar. So you can see those bright colors and that tighter formation in it. Now it's just starting to get those darker colors with it, also broadening a little bit, and that just shows that weaker movement as it's continuing on this path. Just south of Leakesville is where it's expected to continue, and where that is that tornado warned area. Again, this is moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. These are two different tornado warnings, but both for the same warned area. This is in effect until 12:15 for today, so this afternoon, and currently this is just considered a severe thunderstorm capable of producing it. And the most recent spotting that we've gotten so far was just 1 mile northwest of Lucedale, that there was a rotating wall cloud, but that was at 14, so about 6 minutes ago is when that was reported.
Now, if anyone is in the control room, I asked earlier, and I don't think we had anyone in there. Ryan, if you're in there, can we pull up the Apple TV that we usually use for traffic? If we can pull that up, I want to show the display. So that is, if we can pull that up, I've got that highlighted. So if we can go to that, great. If not, that's fine. As far as what we've got right now with the lightning, you see this is covering. Oh, great. We just got it pulled up. Let me see if I can reset that. I know that does not look good on the air right now, so let me change that out and see if I can switch it back on and see if that changes things. There, much better. I gave it a little reset. So this area that I have highlighted on the iPad, this region right here, that's the possible tornado. But notice that it is not that intense compared to how it looked earlier. Now, Leakesville, it is not far from your location, but it is trekking your way. It will be there in about 30 minutes based on its current rate of speed. But what I have circled is the possible tornado. It looks broad, certainly a lot broader than it was over Lucedale. If we can go back to Max 1. Back to the graphics. We'll take another look at it on the display here. And it's right in this general region. Vernal River Road, that's pretty much it. Anyone located to the west of Vernal River Road is where the tornado is. So that's not a very populated area, but just make sure that you are taking all the precautions right now if you are to the north and west, if you are south of Leakesville, but it is trekking north toward you, and it's doing so at 15 miles per hour. So you got heavy rain, you got intense amounts of lightning, a nasty storm by itself that resembles what we would see on any given summer day. We always warn about when thunder roars, go indoors, because if you can hear thunder, you're within range to get struck by lightning. But the reason why we're staying on the air is because the tornado warning's remaining active. The signature is not what it was when it was over Bendale in northwest George County. That's when I think it was at its peak. At its peak intensity, I think it has fallen off just based on the last few scans. I'm sure it's producing enough rotation on radar that the Weather Service feels it's necessary to continue the warning. So we're going to stay with it. And you can just see how intense the lightning is right now. And it's still popping as of 11:30 right on the Greene and George County line. But the only part of the storm producing a possible tornado has now shifted more into parts of Greene County. And in the chat, Jennifer, the Weather Service, have they indicated any secondary signs of rotation or only that main one?
Only that main one.
Only that main one. And that's what I thought, but I wanted to double check on that. So that means the core of the storm, at least the part that's producing the rotation, is in parts of Greene County right now. And that lightning is getting pretty intense. And it looks like we just got an update to the tornado warning box. And it still will include parts of Leakesville until 12:15. Let's go to the watch warning map, and we'll get a better look at what's going on. And I'm really surprised George County has not been dropped out of the warning, because the possible tornado, the signature should already be in Greene County by now. But George County, you're still technically in the tornado warning for the next 45 minutes. And it's anyone inside this red box that's in immediate danger for a possible tornado. I know if you're watching in Mobile and Baldwin, it's not to you yet. The storms will continue to move eastward. What we're hoping for is that we just get a big soaking of rain and we start to see fewer showers and storms beginning to push their way through. So that's what we're going to be sticking with and following as we maneuver in over the next several hours. So this is just an active weather day, but later this week we're not going to see it as active. So as we go back to the radar, and we're just going to keep watching these scans as they work their way through. These storms are not in a very populated area. They're not in a location where a lot of you would travel, but the potential for them to maneuver into populated regions does exist. So Washington County, you need to be on guard. Mobile County, you need to be on guard. Washington County, you especially need to be watching, simply because where you see all the big lightning just to the south of Leakesville, all of that's working its way northeastward. So Chatham, even though there's no active warnings in your area, you need to kind of be playing standby with this and be ready to go as these storms continue to push their way through. So they're packing a punch, but let's go back to the velocity display, Jennifer. And I just want to look at the scans, and let's pull back on this. And you can see the green, which means wind blowing to the radar, red away from the radar. But right here, south of Mississippi Highway 57, south of Leakesville, is where the possible tornado is. Right where Jennifer is circled, that's the possible tornado. It does not look like it did when it was over Bendale. It looked a lot more intense. The colors were bright. We did have confirmation from the Weather Service that there was a tornado on the ground. As far as what we're seeing here, just not much. And let's check the CC value if we can, Jennifer, and see what we've got. See if we've got anything standing out with that. I don't know if we will, just based on how dark the colors are, because the darker colors, well, maybe. I think that's probably the reason why the Weather Service hasn't dropped the warning, because typically darker colors on velocity mean weaker wind fields. But if seeing this in the same spot where there's rotating wind would indicate possible debris, it's just something we just got to stick with and watch. I mean, as these scans keep coming through, the Weather Service watches it as we watch it and as you watch it. And this is just a situation where there's at least enough evidence to keep the tornado warning going. Now, Leakesville, I'm going to emphasize again, you've still got time to get to your safe place. Leakesville is the highest populated location in Greene County, so you've still got time to get away from doors and windows, first floor. Make sure that if you know anyone that lives in that area, they know what's going on, that a storm that's producing a possible tornado is moving in their region, and they've got time to take action. The worst place to be is a mobile home in a storm like this. You need to be in a foundation-based building. I know in this situation it might be too late, but anyone watching in the other parts of our area, you do have time to plan to go to a foundation-based building. So this is the storm that's producing the tornado. That would be the possible tornado southwest of Leakesville. It's tracking northeast at about 15 miles per hour. We're just going to keep watching this and staying with this. The warning will be up for the next 40 minutes unless it's canceled sooner. The Weather Service has said they're going to keep it going. It's moving northeast at about 15 miles an hour. They're not going to drop it as of right now. I will show you what the catalyst is for all of this. If you missed the morning news, this is the main reason why we had this situation happen today. Notice along parts of Texas, that's the wrong graphic. Let me show you this one. Here it is. I found it with the low. You see the low around Texas. That counterclockwise motion from that feature is what has created enough rotating wind with height to produce the tornado chance. And you can see those storms east of that low look very intense. They're all moving eastward. So essentially what you've got is a situation where we've got round number 1 rolling through right now. That's this big band of rain and storms here. This is round 1. And then to the east of the low, this is going to be round 2 that they'll start to maneuver through tonight. And we will have a bit of a lull, we'll have a bit of a break in the action late in the afternoon and into the early evening hours before that second round begins to push its way through. So that's the main driving force behind this. You got the south winds, the muggy, humid air, the very warm temperatures with the heating of the day, and then this feature creating the rotating wind with height near Houston, which is something you usually don't see in late June, which is why we have the tornado risk today. Usually the main risk in a summer storm is just lightning and heavy rain. This is a situation where it's a little bit different, and that's why the risk zone. And by the way, I think now that we're past 11:30, we probably have a new update to that, Jennifer. Let's see if the risk zone has changed at all. It was a level 2 out of 5.
It just came out.
And let's see if it has changed or not. Locations west, and it has changed. Yep. So here's the new updated severe weather risk zone. It is still a level 2 out of 5, but you may recall it was only showing level 2 west of I-65. Not anymore. Now the level 2 includes almost all of our area, goes up to Montgomery, all the way up into parts of Georgia and even South Carolina. So that means all of these storms that are maneuvering through all have the potential for gusty straight line winds, and unfortunately it does also have the risk of a tornado. So the new severe weather risk zone has come out, and here it is. It is no longer just areas west of I-65 that are in the level 2. Everyone is inside that level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk zone. And the George and Greene County tornado warnings are still active. They're going to be active for the next 40 minutes. So we're going to stay with that unless the warning gets canceled sooner. The storms don't look as intense as they did previously. We'll go back to the radar and let you get a good look at that.
And they just continued that tornado warning.
It has been discontinued?
No, it has been continued, but they just shaved it off.
George County, you have been dropped. George County, which I kind of thought was going to happen earlier, but yeah, now George County has been dropped out of the tornado warning. It now only includes Greene County until 12:15. And I keep walking right over your box. You move it for me, and then I block it. So Leakesville, you are still in the tornado warning, but George County, every spot of George County has now been dropped. So the tornado warning is now only for Greene County, and it's active till 12:15. This warning does include Leakesville, which is the highest populated spot of the county. So make sure that if you're watching this, you know that Greene County is the hot spot right now, and Leakesville, you are the spot that's in danger to deal with a storm that's producing rotating wind, possibly a tornado. Certainly gusty winds and frequent lightning are going to be a big culprit with this storm. Let's go to the radar and take a look at it, and you can see George County has been dropped, which is good, but you've still got a nasty storm producing a lot of lightning rolling through there. So I know that's a loud storm with all of that lightning, and summertime we always get a lot of that, and this is coming through at the worst time of day. It's coming through when temperatures are at their hottest, and you can see that although the lightning is fizzling out in George County, it's still pretty intense in Greene County, and it's getting ready to work its way into Leakesville. Now, there's a lot of heavy rain, but the part of the storm that's producing the tornado is located right there. We got that little curvature part of the red, just south of Mississippi Highway 57. And as we pull up the rotating wind, the velocity display, right here is where the tornado is located, just south of Leakesville. That is a very broad signature. That means you may have rotation, but I would say the chance of there being a tornado on the ground with that is probably fairly low. Has the Weather Service said anything about that?
They haven't. It's just still a severe thunderstorm capable of producing it, and it's currently moving northeast at 25 miles per hour.
So it's picked up speed again.
Yes, again.
So it's moving to the northeast at 25 miles per hour. We're going to continue to stick with this. Let's zoom in a little bit tighter, Jennifer, and see if we can get any. There's Hillman. Here's Vernal River Road. US 98. There's not a lot of city in these regions. Here's Brushy Creek Road. This is going to be to the west of that and to the west of Mississippi Highway 594. But here's your possible tornado just south of Hillman, and it's going to be working its way up to Leakesville within the next few minutes. So make sure, again, you're away from doors and windows. The signature, very broad. It's right there. If there's a tornado on the ground, it's right there in that spot, and it's going to keep marching at about 25 miles per hour. And we're just going to stay with this and keep watching it and watch these new scans as they continue to push their way through. Now, as far as what's to come after this, remember, more and more spots are going to see rain and storms later today. So if you haven't gotten rain yet, you have a good chance for that later. Here's the Futurecast, and as we run this forward in time, you'll notice by about 1 in the afternoon, you start to see storms covering more locations. We continue to go forward into about 3 and 4, and you'll notice that we start to get a bit of a break in the action. We start to see fewer storms in the latter part of the day. Then round 2 begins in the evening hours after 6 and 7. Actually, no. This new run of the Futurecast says no to that. So this is interesting. These Futurecasts update in real time. We don't have to re-render them. When they get the data in our weather graphics system, it just projects that data out. Not sold on that completely. I still think there will be a second round of storms moving through. I don't think it'll be as intense as what we've got now, but I do think there will be that risk of evening storms. So it's just something we'll be watching. Jennifer reloaded the previous model run, and you can see it had things way more intense for a lot longer, and then the second round would start to push through after about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. We would see round 2 move through, and then after midnight it would diminish, die off, and that would be the end of it. And I think that's probably going to be the more accurate run with that. So we'll just keep an eye on that and see what happens. What do we got, Jennifer?
A train spotter has reported a funnel cloud at 11:14 a.m. 1 mile northwest of Loosedale.
Okay, that was the one I know in the chat that we had picked up earlier. So we knew we were going to probably see some confirmations for funnel clouds, and we did get that with that spotter. Now, what you're looking at in this box is our storm tracker vehicle. Do we know where?
Yes, they're heading north on Highway 45 towards Citronelle.
Heading towards Citronelle. So they're maneuvering up towards Citronelle to try to cut this thing off. So they're moving up 45 here, and the storm will be just to the west of them. So they're going to try to get a good visual, a good western visual shot of the storms as they work their way up 45, because the vehicle was parked here at the station at Satchel Paige Drive in Mobile, and now it's going to be working its way up US 45 to Citronelle, into Wildcat Country, looking west toward Greene County, and trying to get a good shot of those storms. storms. And the great thing about this storm tracker vehicle is it has amazing picture quality. Jennifer, I know you put together a package of all the bells and whistles that thing has. What are some of the things that vehicle can do?
Yeah, of course, it has 3 different cameras with it, so we can drive safely while also having a roof camera and a dash camera. We control all of that from the inside of the vehicle. It has 4-wheel drive, so it's great for the off-roading abilities too. That's the first 4-wheel drive vehicle that we do have towards our fleet. It's the 6th edition, I believe, but we just have a lot of vehicles that can do this in our storm tracker. We're the only station that can do it, and just we always say that the best eyes are the eyes on the ground when it comes to severe weather, and this is doing just that, and it brings us to the forefront of these storms.
Absolutely. The radar, I mean, the radar is great, but it can only do so much. People like visual confirmation, people like cameras, people like video, and that vehicle is going to be able to bring that to you. It's going to be able to bring that to you no matter where these storms are. So this is going to be something as we continue through hurricane season and move back into the fall tornado season that you'll really appreciate that we have. It's a tool that's really nice and something that I think is really going to make Fox 10 stand out. And I really think you'll get a really good kick out of what you'll see, what kind of features you'll see from that vehicle. Now, again, the tornado warning only includes Greene County. It expires in 30 minutes. You got a very nasty storm south of Leakesville right now producing heavy rain and lightning. Again, that could be on any given summer day. So even if there's no tornado, that is one nasty storm moving through. The green and red that we show you on these velocity displays that represents inbound and outbound wind. Green means wind blowing to the radar. Red means wind blowing away from the radar. So the radar is located at Mobile Regional Airport. So when you see the greens and reds together, that's usually an indicator of rotation. So you've got a situation where you've got a wind moving southeast, out of the southeast, and wind moving out of the northwest in this region. So right here would be your possible tornado, and it's just south of Leakesville. Now that's a weak signature, but nevertheless, it's dangerously close to that part of Greene County. So your time is running out as far as getting into your safe place. We told you as we approached noon, we'd have that chance, that possibility exist, and now it is almost here. So make sure you are taking action and you're letting anyone that lives in Leakesville know, anyone that lives in Greene County know that they need to make sure they're paying attention to this storm as it continues to work its way to the north and east at about 25 miles an hour. It has picked up speed significantly. Now at 11:45, we go back to the main part of the radar. You can see Vernal all the way up to Hillman and Leakesville. You've got just a mess out there. Heavy rain, very intense amounts of lightning. A very strong, powerful storm is maneuvering through. The good news is to the west, things have calmed down significantly. Let me show you a broader view of the radar, and notice that the core of the widespread rain is still in Hammond and in New Orleans, and we've actually got flash flood warnings showing up from that cluster of storms that's behind the secondary line. Now, one thing that I think we're going to have to follow is what's happening right here around Slidell, Louisiana. And what I mean is, and as I stop this loop, it's this nasty squall line that's showing up just to the east of Slidell. That feature is going to be riding the coast and working its way eastward into parts of Biloxi, Pascagoula, Dauphin Island, and I think those storms will have to be monitored very carefully. Let me find out the speed of those particular storms. Those are moving east at 25 knots, so those are moving pretty quickly. So as we take a look at the projected locations, moving east at 25, let's make it about 30 miles an hour. It would be to Cat Island a little bit after 12:30 this afternoon. It'd be to Long Beach at 12:28. So you're looking at not just the storms we're tracking in Greene County, but this big nasty squall line east of Slidell would be getting very, very close to Jackson County, Mississippi in less than an hour. And those storms look like they could produce some powerful straight line winds to the coastal locations. So that kind of gives me pause also, is those storms, those are going to need to be monitored very carefully as they get ready to trek in our direction. So we've got the situation in Greene County, but then I think our focus and attention needs to be on those storms that are in those that coastal region of Louisiana that is tracking to the east, because I think those could pack a serious punch as they move in toward, right now they're moving in toward Waveland and getting closer to Gulfport. So they're a ways off from us, but those things have the potential to get nasty really quick. So as we go back to Greene County, you still see the big storm near Leakesville, but as far as dealing with a tornado, we're not really dealing with that right now. There just isn't a strong velocity couplet. There's just no, maybe right here near Leakesville, I think would be near Highway 57 and near Vernal River Road. That's about the closest thing we've got to a couplet. It's weak, but it's enough that the tornado warning is still active, and it's right near Mississippi Highway 63 and Mississippi Highway 57. So we're staying with this, and we're going to continue to watch it and follow it. And as far as the correlation coefficient, which is what shows you possible debris on the radar, there really isn't much. I think it's certainly not anything that's alarming at the moment, but it's just something that we'll have to keep watching and staying with. I think the bigger threat for our friends up in Greene County is just going to be the frequent amounts of lightning that are popping up there right now, and that very intense band of rain that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It wouldn't surprise me if a flash flood warning goes off for this particular storm. But as of now, just based on the last few scans, Jennifer, velocity and the CC values, neither one really are standing out. Now, granted, Leakesville's far away from the radar beam, and the radar is at Mobile Regional Airport. So the beam goes in a straight line, the Earth curves. So the greater the distance you have from that radar beam, you're going to be looking at things that are aloft instead of at the surface. So that's a big problem when you start getting farther away from the radar. But I do think that the intense storm is obviously a big problem. But as far as it's a lot harder to find a strong enough signature on radar with the velocity to find where a tornado would be. I think this is now pretty much just a straight line wind event, and I think this is going to be a situation where it's just heavy rain and lightning. So we'll stay with it until the Weather Service cancels it, but based on what I've seen, Jennifer, I think that's what we've got here.
And I think that's kind of what they're thinking too. It's getting to that edge of the tornado warning, and normally whenever it's a very strong couplet that we're seeing, then they'll extend it further, but right now it's just about to exit out of that tornado warned area. So it's getting to that edge, and they haven't continued anything within it.
Now that's good news for our friends in Washington County, in Alabama, because if, as Jennifer was saying, if they did extend it, if they did add to the box, you would be the next ones to be underneath that tornado warning, and that's not what we're seeing here. There's a good chance that once it moves out of Greene County, they're going to drop it, and that will be it, at least for now. Chances are if we go back to programming, we may have to come back on later today, so just be aware of that. Let's go back to the reflectivity and look again at the intense rain bands and the intense lightning. And Leakesville, by far, I mean, you just got a good old-fashioned summer storm over you. That's a big soaker. It's loud because of all the lightning. I know that's probably a scary storm. I know that's probably nothing to sneeze at for sure. You can see when the lightning gets bright like that on this radar imagery, that means the lightning has just struck. So it is a very powerful storm. But the good news is, I think once this storm is past you, things are going to get a lot calmer really quick. But I know right now it's just not pleasant, and I hope no one's driving through that because the lightning and the thunder can be a big distraction. These intense rain bands are going to cause major problems on the roads. This is when we see a lot of people having numerous accidents on the roads. So just make sure you're taking all of this seriously as we await this thing to shift over into Washington County. This is Mobile County. This is Washington County. This is Greene County. So this storm is lifting northeast, and Washington County is where it's going to be going. So the question is, will it become a straight line wind threat, which would mean a severe thunderstorm warning would be issued? Will the tornado warning get extended? Right now at this point, we just don't know. And we're just sort of playing the waiting game as we watch this situation with the Weather Service. And you're watching a live feed in the bottom, in the left corner of your screen from our Fox 10 Storm Tracker vehicle. So and right now, Jennifer, in the chat, there has have there been any new details?
Yeah, there's one that just came out. It says that this is from the National Weather Service. They said that it looks like it's weakening and they will likely cancel the tornado warning early.
Good. So that's a wonderful news. So Jennifer just said that they're likely going to be canceling the tornado warning early. Now, let me emphasize that doesn't mean that the rest of the day is just going to be awesome. There's still going to be storms around. We just hope that these storms are not producing tornadoes. And right now you've got a very powerful storm, heavy downpours of rain, lots of lightning, but as far as a tornado, it's unlikely that one is there at this point. I think we did see one roll through Bendale in George County. The signature was strong. I think there's a good chance there was one on the ground there. Thankfully, that was not in a very populated spot. But when this storm moves northeast, there's still more coming in, and there's that big line around parts, and we'll show you that again on the Louisiana coast that looks like it's maneuvering eastward and could trek towards parts of the Mississippi and Alabama Gulf Coast. So you've got these storms, and then you've got these storms. These are producing flash flood warnings around New Orleans, and these are the ones that I think we're really going to have to be careful with as we get into what I'd say maybe 1, 2 in the afternoon, because you'll notice they are moving in our general direction, and we don't have the sun set anytime soon to stop all that daytime heating energy from happening. So as we maneuver in through the afternoon, I think there's a good chance we'll have more storms popping in more spots that can produce heavy rain and lightning. I do think we'll get a break in the action after about 3 or 4. And then I think once we're back toward 8 and 9 o'clock, we'll see a secondary round of storms move through. And then after midnight, I think we'll start to see that threat begin to diminish. And I think your Thursday and Friday, although there will be storm chances, things will be a lot calmer than what they've been so far today. And as you can see, the severe thunderstorm warning has been issued to extend the tornado warning. So what this means is the warning box has been extended, but not in the form of a tornado warning. It has been changed to a severe thunderstorm warning. It includes parts of Mobile County near Citronelle. It also includes a good chunk of Washington County for locations that are south of Chatham, and that will be in play until 12:45 this afternoon. Now, because the tornado warning has shifted over to a severe thunderstorm warning, we will end our severe weather coverage now. We will come back on the air if needed, but you'll have all the Fox 10 meteorologists watching this throughout the course of the day. A full summary on what has taken place will be coming up this afternoon on Fox 10 News beginning at 4 this afternoon. I'm meteorologist Michael White alongside meteorologist Jennifer Lambers. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your Wednesday.